Jared Wuerzburger open capture smile.
No, I closed it. Sorry.
If you smile, it takes a picture of you.
Okay.
Don't smile.
I got that.
I like how it tells you in case you get your weenus out or something. It's like, please hide away your genitals.
Up next, we do have one final main topic. This is for a game called Oscar, also on Kickstarter. I got some information about this. Oscar is from a team called Team Sharkeye, based in Vancouver. The lead on this project is a multiplayer and lead designer at Relic Entertainment, also based in Vancouver. What Oscar is a little bit hard to define, especially if you watch the pitch video and you kind of digest their entire pitch page and even go to their official website. I did all of that, and I'm still a little bit confused what the game is, but it looks really interesting. This definitely falls into the category of like games with feeling. I mean, there's this new wave of games now, a new trend of games are going to be more narrative based. They're going to explore more the emotional facets of the player experience, not so much about numbers, min-maxing, or hardcore game mechanics. The game Oscar is a side view platformer at its core, and that's what you're going to see in the prototype they have on display. You play a young girl, I guess her name is Oscar, and she's accompanied by her stuffed toy elephant named Flynn. And I suppose the whole game is a bit of like Alice in Wonderland type of deal, where she's journeying along in her everyday life, but it becomes really surreal, and I guess you're exploring parts of her daydreams as well. And then the game's not going to really tell you what to do or where to go or what your true objective is, but it's going to, through sight, sounds, visual cues, and pure design, you're going to explore the game and eventually find out what's happening, or what your goal is, or what the theme of the game, or what the backstory is. So there's a lot of unknowns going on with this game, and the pitch video tries its best to not overstay its welcome, but I can understand why they wouldn't want to say too much about the game. I'm sure the game itself is still being fleshed out, and it's very hard to describe a game that's not based on familiar game mechanics. So that was the sort of trouble they ran into with their pitch video. But it does look really interesting in terms of just like, well, here's something new, and they express this in the video. They say, we want to try and push something out there that's new and challenging, and not just another same old game that falls into an established genre. In terms of just like the Kickstarter facts here, they have 61 backers so far. They raised about $7,000. They're looking for 40,000 to complete the game, and the Kickstarter just went up a few days ago. They have 26 days to go, and looks really interesting. I was a big fan of Gone Home last year, and so I'm really keen on seeing indie developers explore games that some detractors might say aren't even games, right? Games that seem really simplistic, that kind of ask you to invest more, I guess, your emotions into it, and not focus so much on the mechanics, and games that just ask you to explore. A lot of the footage on this game just shows the girl walking from the left side of the screen to the right side, and things just happen, and I guess you're just supposed to pay attention to things, to different cues, as you would in an adventure game, perhaps. So I feel like I'm talking circles right now. The game itself is kind of hard to pin down, which I think it's kind of cool, but maybe I should just throw it to one of you guys to get your opinion on this game and the Kickstarter. Jared, you got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I do, and I've actually I thought really hard about whether or not to pick up Gone Home. I was kind of like, I watched a couple reviews back in the day, and so games like this do catch my eye, and I do have interest in them. I played Dear Esther, which some might say isn't a game either. Um, so this kind of stuff is neat. Um, I think it's interesting that the main character is a young girl, which we don't usually see as a main protagonist in games. The art style reminds me of Braid a little tiny bit. It's
Yeah,
more, it's more, I guess. Um, I just like the layering, I guess. The layering of the assets reminds me of Braid. Um, the audio is also being designed by like the manager of the project. So he's also composing the audio in the audio track that they laid out for this project. Seems like it fits the dreamy kind of world that our main young protagonist is kind of walking through. I thought your descriptions of the game were pretty good. Is there an end result for this game? Is there a goal for the character, or is this kind of just walking through the adventure and living inside of her head?
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to be that that's the whole point of the game, is to find out what the purpose is. So they're gonna start you off. They're not gonna explain anything. I don't think there's even gonna be any dialogue. There might be some, but you're just gonna play the game, explore, and then as you play, you'll figure out what it is that you're ultimately supposed to do. And I guess for them to say any more, if they know the ultimate end of the game, for them to say any more might go into spoil territory and might ruin the game. Kind of like Gone Home, I guess, where it's like you kind of go in cold. You really don't know what to expect, and toys your expectations a bunch, and then at the end you get like the big reveal. I think this is what they're going for.
Yeah,
jump
they
in.
mentioned that like you're not quite like you are kind of in her daydreams, and then as you play it, you kind of start to question and eventually find out what it is she's sort of hiding from, like why she kind of keeps on going into these surreal, dreamlike worlds, like kind of her imagination, right? So that's interesting. And I don't know. To me, like, yeah, this actually doesn't sound all that unique. Because I feel like I have seen games where you're a little girl, 2D side-scrolling adventure game, and it's like you kind of have a dark past, and you're in like these weird surreal situations. I know there was another one, I can't think of the name right now, but it was an adventure game where you're similar to this, but you're in like sort of a asylum. And then also we've got one to talk about possibly later on in the show that's you also play as a young sort of troubled girl. So I don't know, it is kind of new, but at the same time I've been seeing this in a lot of indie games as well. But maybe they'll pull it off really, like do a great job on it.
I
But
think sorry.
yeah, I don't know. To me, it isn't super. What I've seen so far isn't screaming out originality to me. Um, but I think that, like in the pitch video, they do a good job of kind of illustrating their noble cause to create a game that's a bit more artistic, yeah, with some meaning behind it. So that's a good thing. And yeah, I think for anyone who's interested in games like that, it seems like these people are dedicated to that and will probably hit the mark.
So Justin is not impressed.
I'm just not as impressed. Yeah, it's not my
Sure.
type of game, I guess.
Sure.
I've
You're
got nothing
totally right.
wrong.
I mean, this
Yeah,
is
I
not
like
something
games-
completely new.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
He didn't like Dear Esther either, so it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone. And Jared mentioned Dear Esther did something very similar to this, from a first-person perspective. You just basically hold down a key, to play the game, right, Dear Esther, and then you just take in the audio-visual stimuli that comes at you, and at the end you feel good about it. Same thing, the same kind of criticisms were leveled against Gone Home and all that sort of stuff. Stanley Parable is another game of this sort of ilk.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a total trend of games that are not quite traditional games, are they? And I would add in one last thing, and that is if you head on over to the website for this game, which is oscarthegame.com. I like how the team has kind of done this breakdown of the art and design, where they'll basically step you through their process so far of developing certain parts of the game. So, yeah, the one I really focused on was the page Designing Oscar. It's called the design page and the navigation. And they really step you through using videos, very short videos, to show you the early prototype version of the game and to explain what they were going for as they were developing this prototype, which just came about through maybe 2 or 3 days of work on the side, since I think everyone involved has a day job or used to have a day job. So that kind of insight into the mind of a game designer, I think, is really interesting, especially for those people who still don't really understand what goes into starting a game from scratch. It's a really interesting look into conceptualizing and also prototyping. So I think Remi, you had some final thoughts for us on Oscar?
Sure, I have a couple of things. I've always been I guess intrigued or interested in what developers do with this type of games that go a little bit, beyond what a regular game is, right? We're used to just games for fun and just the classic mechanics, and I really like when they actually try to do something else. And I can see why a lot of people might not like them, because they're not really a game or things like that. So I played Dear Esther, and I really enjoyed it, even though you can call it not a game, because of the way they make you care about characters. And I guess in this game they're really gonna try to push the player get to how can I say it? Take care of the character and feel something for the character, and that's really awesome when when games do that. I guess I have a couple of ones that remember when we played Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. Yeah, that game was awesome. I mean, it is a game and it has full mechanics and all that, but it makes you care for characters. It even makes you cry. Also, I don't know if you guys played The Graveyard, which is not really a game, but it's kind of weird. I played it and I didn't know what to think about it, because it's not really a game, but it was interesting what they tried to do with it. Of course, I'm not going to say it because I guess most of these games have a twist that you don't really want to destroy. That's why maybe they don't say a lot of it. But yeah, I'm interested, and I hope they reach the goal.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to back it.
Well, Jared sold. Justin, did any of those change your mind maybe in the last 5 minutes? Change your mind about the Oscar?
I do like games with feeling, just to be clear.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't like games that...
I just wanted to point out that they mentioned something that they said the game can shift perspectives. And I didn't really catch much about that in the video. In the pitch video, but on their page it does mention that, and I wasn't sure if perhaps you know any information about that, or that's just sort of some little tidbit hint that they threw in on the page.
Yeah, I know which parts you're talking about. They did mention that in a couple places. I'm not really sure. Yeah. The game to me just seems like a straight up 2D, perspective game from start to finish. Who knows? They could throw in some crazy stuff later, or maybe by shifting perspective, just mean like the tonal shift, where you're just walking on a regular street, and then all of a sudden you go into dream, Max Payne, Fever Dream.
Probably not as violent.
Maybe not as violent, but who knows?
My guess is Do you guys see this hallway here?
Yep.
Yeah,
Is it possible that the character walks towards the camera?
it's
That's what they mean by switch
completely
perspective.
possible. Yeah, that would be kind of cool, actually, to walk into the background, walk into the scenery. I guess they've piqued our interest enough that we've been talking about this for a while, and Jared's put his hard-earned money down already. And to end things on a slightly facetious note, I should say that troubled young girls or just troubled young children are gaming's new power fantasy. Aren't they?
Yeah.
It's becoming quite a thing to have troubled little ones in video games. But we'll see how this plays out. Was Oscar on Kickstarter, so check him out.